everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. So it seems that we have people joining from all around the world. Very amazing. So welcome to the webinar. Before we start, let me introduce you to the host for this webinar, which are myself, I'm Kotila as the community manager, Kim Fisher as the lead software engineer, and Emily Darling as the Coral Reef Conservation Director. A little bit of housekeeping before we start. So the webinar will provide a demo using MERMAID for your coral reef monitoring. Feel free to follow along with your own computer, but we won't doing the troubleshooting right now. So you can contact us directly via email afterwards. And during the webinar, please keep your mic muted except for Q&A session. This webinar will be recorded and posted on MERMAID website. And then if you have a question, so please type your question in the chat and Kim and Emily will be answering your questions, but we will also have several small interludes between sessions for Q&A. And also there will be another Q&A session at the end of the webinar. So next we'll have Emily providing an intro for the webinar. Over to you, Emily.
Thanks, Tila. Well, I think so many of us are here today because we know how important coral reefs are for biodiversity, for people, for climate resilience, for fisheries, for tourism, for so many different things. And it's not just any coral reef that's important. We know that functioning coral reefs are really what's important. And that's usually corals that have a lot of different types of coral species, high coral cover, lots of different types of fish, and the fisheries or the fish stocks that support critical fisheries to coastal communities, or the corals that build a natural seawall to prevent waves and other damage smashing into coastlines and damaging peoples and homes and livelihoods. So coral reefs are so critical across so many different elements. Next slide, please, Tila. And we also know that coral reefs are in jeopardy from climate change as their top threat around the world. This is, of course, from extreme heat that causes coral bleaching, like you see here. While bleaching is not a death sentence in itself, extended periods of temperature that kill corals will have huge cascading impacts on coral reef ecosystems and the 1 billion people who depend on them. We're also seeing, of course, increasing extreme weather, ocean acidification on the horizon, sea level rise for coral reefs. These are all things that are going to jeopardize coral reefs being able to function in the way that we all know that they need to. And I think in particular, this latest IPCC report last week was very concerning for coral reefs. And so really trying to understand, where do coral reefs, where can they continue functioning? Where can they continue to have cope for climate change for people? Where is management going to be the most effective? Those are all very important questions. And those are all very important questions that need data. Next slide, Tila. In particular, when we think about what kind of coral reef data is useful to answer those questions, to understand the health of coral reefs, I think we're all very familiar here with the critical role of underwater coral reef monitoring. This is where people are diving, are snorkeling, who have eyes on the reef, who are measuring these critical indicators of coral reef integrity. That's things like live coral cover, reef fish biomass, coral diversity, reef fish diversity. And we're not only trying to get, more of those indicators, but understanding those indicators also requires more scientists underwater doing these types of monitoring. Next slide, please. Now, when we think about how coral reef scientists have typically monitored coral reefs for decades, we might think immediately of Excel. And Excel is really good in some ways. It's easy to use offline. You don't have to be on the internet to, enter your data from your coral reef surveys on those critical indicators. The forms are flexible. You can add fields. You can use different forms every time. You can enter data quickly just by typing in data and you save it. You've got data. But Excel also has a lot of problems. And that's particularly when we come to this context of coral reef monitoring around the world, where people are using different methods in different places, but then trying to bring all their data together to see the big picture or to answer critical questions for communities, for stakeholders, and for governments, or for science. So why is Excel bad? Well, Excel is really bad at collecting data the same way every time. Excel is bad for automated and reproducible reporting. I'm sure many of you have used pivot tables, and you've kind of got to do a pivot table every single time. And that can change depending on what data you're using. So it's not automated in the sense that you can just do it on a click of a button, and it's not reproducible in the sense that it can get done the exact same way every time. Excel, speaking from personal experience here, Excel is terrible when you're trying to collaborate with different people. I added this note here about WCS programs. I'm the director of WCS, and part of my job is to work with our 15 countries around the world and say, hey, let's bring our coral reef monitoring data together and look at our impact as an organization. Excel is really bad for this. And it can take, it's taken me years in the past to just try to, understand what people's data is looking like, bring those together and get an answer. And that's just too much time. That takes too much time. Coral reefs don't have that time. And lastly, Excel is also very bad for version control and backups. I think we've all probably had experiences of coming back from a field trip with your laptop and your precious data, clutched carefully as you're walking on the boat or trying not to drop it in the ocean and lose all that effort. That's because it's not backed up in the cloud. And so that's what we've really been trying to solve. So Excel is useful in some ways, it's not useful in other ways. And that's why to try to really, make what is the best tool possible for coral reef monitoring from underwater surveys like this, why we developed MERMAID. Next slide, Tila. Oh, I was going to add one more thing. Thank you. The other challenge that we're facing today is with the new global biodiversity framework that was passed in December. There's a real need to connect all of these different underwater monitoring efforts into key coral reef indicators in that biodiversity framework. And right now there's a big gap in how we do that. Next. Thanks, Tila. There's some really critical initiatives like the Global Coral Reef Monitoring Network, which I'm sure many of you have engaged with and maybe sent them their Excel files. But it can take a lot of time to combine all of those into this type of reporting that's needed for countries or for the Global Biodiversity Framework. And so where we're trying to sit in this role and with other platforms you might have heard of like Reef Cloud is a way for underwater scientists to quickly and simply collect their data so that it's able to move up this chain to be really effective at international policy. And then of course, also help you deal with your data much faster as well. So we'll leave Reef Cloud to our friends at Reef Cloud. We do partner with them and we talk to them often, but the goal of our webinar here is to tell you about MERMAID and how, what is the specific role of MERMAID and what are some new things that we're just releasing right now. Next slide. So before I hand it over to Kim and Tila for your around the World Mermaid Tour, I just wanted to highlight that you can find out so much more about MERMAID at our website, datamermaid.org. Everything you're going to see today is thanks to so many incredible people. For the last 6 years, we have been co-designing MERMAID with coral reef scientists in these countries and more. We have 3 different apps that have been developed based on the needs of users in the field like you. And for those of you on webinar or watching the recording who have helped us with MERMAID and who have created MERMAID for you, thank you. We are now the largest snapshot of coral reef health around the world in 29 countries, over 40,000 submitted transects, over 1,000 users. So there is a need for this type of approach. We're now launching version 2, which has even more features that you have all asked for over the last few years. It's been an incredible amount of work with huge thanks to Spark Geo, our development partners, and to the teams at WCS and WWF who co-founded MERMAID back in the day. Just lastly, before I turn it over, I wanted to just highlight that we likely have a number of different people joining this webinar, and I just wanted to acknowledge the different audiences. You might be joining because you want to understand, what does MERMAID look like, and how is it going to help deliver on, my country's goals or biodiversity goals. You might be joining because you've used MERMAID for your expedition work with version 1 and want to see what's new in version 2, or you might have never really heard about MERMAID and just want to learn about something that might help you other than Excel with your coral reef monitoring data. So it'll be hard to make all of those groups happy. We're definitely going to try, but please feel free to reach out to us with questions or go to our website, learn more about MERMAID. We're always here and happy to chat. But for now, I'll turn it over to Kim and Tila for the main focus of our website, which is what is version 2 and how can you use it and what are all our new features. Thanks, and over to you, Kim and Tila.
Thank you, Emily. So shall we dive in?
Let's dive in. I just wanted to underline what Emily said about posting questions in the chat in Zoom. So there's a little chat icon at the bottom of the Zoom control bar. So don't hesitate to post questions, and we'll collate those and handle those in several sessions. So ask away.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so before we start demoing, for those that have been using MERMAID, we have improved MERMAID from version 1 to version 2, as Emily has been mentioning. For those who haven't, it should still make sense because we will be covering all the basic workflow, which is the same as the previous version, but with a fresher look. So there are lots of backend improvement, but a totally redesigned user experience, which we will highlight some on the next slide. So what's new in MERMAID version 2? So first of all, as you've seen earlier, it has a new fresh design. It has smarter performance, improved user experience. It's easier and faster. We have the easier and faster way to see who to chase for missing data. We have photo quadrant available, and in version 2, you can now download submit data in Excel format. And for all of your information, version 1 will be phasing out on April 5th, 2023. So for those that have been using MERMAID, we strongly suggest to submit unsubmitted sample units before this date. Although we don't anticipate any problem for this, but just to be safe, then sorry. Okay. In this webinar, we will be giving a tour of how to use MERMAID for your coral reef monitoring, starting from preparation to downloading your data. We will also be focusing on the new features and changes in version 2. And the main workflow is we will start from preparation, and then after that, we go to data collection and then download your data. And also MERMAID support ingesting legacy data using MERMAID R package to ensure your legacy data are also available in MERMAID. And we will guide you through each step, and we will have short Q&A session between it. Okay, first step is preparation. We need to prepare the project prior to data collecting. The preparation includes creating MERMAID account, create a project, in creating a project, we will add sites, management regimes, users, and also set data sharing permissions. And then the last step, we will prepare the project to be able to use it offline. So now let's head up to the app and let's do these steps. Wait a minute. Can I hide this? Okay. So if you go to app.datamermaid.org, this is the first thing that will appear on your computer when it's your first time accessing it. So for a new user, you and your team members need to create a MERMAID account. You can sign up with your Google account or other email accounts, but for those who use an email account other than Google, please remember to verify your email. So to create a MERMAID account, click on the sign up button here. And then you can choose whether you want to sign up with your Google email account, or you can fill these information here if you are going to use other than a Google account. And then all you need to do is check for agree terms of service here, and then click the sign up button, and then you're ready to go. And after you have your Mermaid account, you can log in by clicking the login button here. And then if you're using a Google account, and then you click here to log in with your Google, or you can type your email address and your password here and click the login. Sorry. Sorry about that. I should log in with my other Google account. Okay. So after you log in, after your login, you will be headed to the project page. So this is a project page while we wait for the loading to continue. Okay, here you are. So when you log in, this is your project page. And here you can find all the projects that you are participated in. Also, you can have the option to create new projects and then copy existing projects. And then there's the offline ready button and the global dashboard. Also, you can access the what's new page and also the reference button down below. The reference button will appear in any page that you go, and you can click it and download it as an Excel format. And click it, and then you find it here. So here's what it looked like. The reference here is contains all the database of the fish and benthic that is accepted in Mermaid. In these documents, you can find the fish family, genera, species, grouping, and also benthic attributes with all related information associated to it. Okay, so next we will talk about the other new feature that were previously not available in version 1 is that the project page here provides a summary of the number of submitted and unsubmitted sample units, number of sites, number of users, and the summary of the data sharing permission of a project. Don't worry, we will talk about it in detail about each of these as we go through the demo. And then the other new feature that is new in also in version 2 is that you can access a certain page directly from the project page. So for example, let's head to our Mermaid Reef survey. So you can access the collecting page directly by clicking this button. You can do the same thing for submitted, sites, user, and data sharing. So let's try it. And there you go. So we are in the collecting page right now. Okay, so the next step to create a project is that, first of all, you need to create the project. To create a project, there are 2 ways. So the first one is clicking on the new project here. You go to the project page again, and then click on the new project page, new project button, sorry. And you need to just type out the name of the project that you want and hit the create project button. I won't be doing this because I already prepared the project. So we're going to use the project that I already prepared. So here's the project. And the next way the other way to create a project is by clicking the copy project button here. So when you do that, all of the information in that project, except the observations, are copied. So you only need to go to the field and collect your data and input directly to MERMAID. Okay, so now we're going to enter the Mermaid Reef Survey project. And the first thing we need to do is head to the project info page here. We will update the information of our project. So make sure the project name is what we want. And then if you have notes, you can add it here. And also you can type out organization that is, or maybe collaborating with other organizations. So you can add more than one organization. For now, I added WCS here. And if you type and you don't find your organization name here, you can always suggest a new organization to MERMAID. And then this will be sent to the admin, the MERMAID admin, and then when it's accepted, then it will be available for next time use. Okay, and then the next step after you've finished project info and you're happy with it, don't forget to click the save button here. Next, we're going to add sites. So we go to the site page from this tool over to the left. And here there are two ways to add a site. So a site is a unique name where data was collected. And two ways to add it is, first one is adding new sites through this button. And also you can do it by copying sites from other existing projects. Also you can export the sites, and exporting site is exporting all the sites here in your project. So let's try to add the new site. So click the new site, and then you fill up this information. So for example, site ID is 1208. 1208. And then let's put the country, Indonesia. And I have the latitude. Don't forget. So MERMAID only accept coordinate in a decimal degree format. So if you use another format, don't forget to convert it to decimal degree. And then you can copy paste your coordinate here. Latitude. And once you insert your coordinate, then if you scroll down, you will find a map with a marker where you add your site here. You can scroll, you can zoom in and make sure that it's the right place. And if you think it's not accurate, then you can click on the marker and move it around to make it accurate. So we include a remote sensing layer from our friend from Alan Coral Atlas here to help you with the site selection. All the sites added in your project will appear on the map under the table. So after you fill up this, you need to also fill this information of that specific site. Just for example, you need to input the exposure, the reef type, the reef zones, and once you're happy with it, then just click the save button and it will be saved. I won't be doing that because I already have it. And the next thing I want to show you is to add site by copying from other projects. So we use this button here. And then there's a module opening. So this will show you a table where it has all the sites in all the existing project in MERMAID. And adding sites to the MERMAID to the project can be done both online and offline. But when you're copying site, you can only be doing it online. So, and then, okay, so we're going to copy a site. We're going to copy a site from Chandrawasi Bay because that's in Chandrawasi. And like, for example, I will, so if you click on the filter, so this table can be filtered based on the name of the site, the project name, or the country. All you need to do is type it in the filter field here. And you can also add more than one site at the same time. Just click however you like. And then all these sites that you select also will appear on the map under the table. And then just to make sure that you're selecting the right site, and then when you're happy with it, then hit the copy selected site to project. When you do that, then all of the sites that you select will appear here on your site page. And all of these sites that you added will appear under the on the map under the table. And also you can see all the markers here. And if you click on them, you can also see the site name. And if you click on the site name here, it will bring you directly to the site information. And also, again, you can download all the site metadata by using this button, Export Sites. It can also can be done online and offline. However, we strongly suggest preparing it before going to the field to be able to synchronize with other users, unless, for example, you plan to do monitoring in a new area where limited data is available. It's simply because synchronizing it can only be done online. So if you add new site offline, then it won't appear in another MERMAID user, in another team member in your project when you're all offline. Okay, now the site here is done. We already added our sites. Next step is we're going to add our management regimes. So it's right under the sites tab. Same with so management regime is a rule or policy that manage a certain area. So for example, MPAs in Indonesia are managed under a zonation system. So each MPA can have more than one zonation, such as core zone, tourism zone, sustainable fisheries zone, etc. And these zones are treated as management regimes. And all of those zones that exist in one MPA need to be added to the project. And same as adding sites, adding a management regime in a project can be done in two ways as well. So you can create new management regime or copy existing management regimes. And okay, so we're going to try to add new management regime by clicking the new management regime button. Fill out especially the one that has asterisk on it. So for example, I want to have control site, so I'll check control. Secondary name, if you have it, you can add it, but if you don't have it, then it's okay to leave it blank. Same with your area. In parties, here I will add government because the site is still inside the country. And then rules is kind of mandatory actually, and the default option is open access. But if you have another rule in that site, in the management regime, so you can pick others like notes take or partial restrictions. And if you click partial restrictions, it will appear another few options of what the partial restrictions are. So you can also click more than one, for example, year restriction and species restriction. But in this example, I will use open access because it's a control site. Same goes to compliance. You can, if you know, you can add, but if you don't know, you can leave it blank, and also notes. When you're happy with everything in it, you can click the save button. Again, I won't be doing that. The next step is copying from other projects. Is basically the same with the sites. So you go to the management regimes, hit the copy management regime project, and this table will appear, and it's all of the management regimes existed in the project in MERMAID. And this table can be filtered by management regime's name, project, or year. And again, I'm going to use Chandrawasi as an example. I will type Chandrawasi, and here's the option. So I will add no take zone and use zone here. And then I will copy selected management regimes to the project. And once you've done it, then it will appear on your management regimes in the project. And same again with this. With sites, you can export the metadata here by clicking this button. And again, it also can be done online and offline. So we're done with the management regime, and next step is adding users. So we go to the user tab here, and to add user, you just need to enter the email address of user here. So you can add both users that already have a MERMAID account and users that don't yet have a MERMAID account. So add the email here. For example, I will add my other email here, and then then hit the add user button, and I will appear here. So as you can see, you can there's 3 row here and the users. There's admin, collector, and read only. So read-only user can only view, export, and analyze data in the analysis tool, but cannot collect new observations. Collector can view, export, and analyze data and also collect new observations. But once a sample unit is submitted, then the user can no longer edit or delete observations. An admin, on the other hand, has full administrative privileges to add and edit observations during collection and after Transect has been submitted. And also admins can also delete observations, removing and adding user to the project, assigning roles to users, and also transferring sample units to other users that has a collector role, but will not be able to transfer it to user that has a read-only role. Okay, when you're done with the users, you've been adding everything, and the next step is to set up the data sharing permission. So we go to the tab under it here, the data sharing. Data sharing permission has 3 levels, which are private, public summary, and public. So if you hover to all of the one by one, you can find all the definition of public summary, public, and private. And if you want to know more, you can click this button here, learn more about how your data is shared. So everything is here, what is going to be shared under the public summary, and also private. And in summary, private will only share the metadata of the project. Public summary will share the metadata and site level summary. And public will basically share everything. Okay, so the last step, once you've done this, don't forget also there's this little box here. This is a test project. So if, for example, you're creating a project for training internal team member, you can, please don't forget to check this box, the test project box. This is to make sure that everything you're doing in this project if it's a test project, it won't be appeared in the global dashboard. So it will make sure that people, other people around the world, when they see the global dashboard, they won't see dummy data or dummy projects. So we want to make sure that all the things that appear is scientifically approved. So it's not a dummy thing. So don't forget about that, okay? After this, the last step is preparation to prepare for offline use. So to do this, we're going to go to the project page again and check the offline ready box. Okay, here, it's already checked. So sometimes it's not like this one, but if it's not, then don't forget to check it so you can use it offline. But because if you don't, then when you don't have internet connection and you're going offline, then you won't be able to access your project. Okay, and we're going to the presentation for a bit. So here's what you need to make sure that before going to the going offline, we need to make sure that first of all users have MERMAID account. So if you add users in the user, if you add user to a project, and this user don't have a MERMAID account, make sure that they create the MERMAID account afterwards. So again, make sure all of the users in the project have MERMAID accounts, and then all users are added to the project. All users are updated with the latest change in the project, meaning that if the admin make changes, make sure that all the user refresh their MERMAID app refresh their MERMAID app to make sure that it's updated. And also, this is very important to keep logged in to MERMAID to make sure that you can use it offline. So you can keep it logged in, don't log out, and then you can close the browser, turn off your computer, and then when you are in the field with no internet connection, you can still open it, open the browser and type the address app.datamermaid.org, and then you can access directly to your MERMAID account. If you logged out, then you can only be able to access the project when you're online. So be careful and make sure you stay logged in. And also the last one is all users ensure that the offline ready checkbox is checked. So in my MERMAID account, I might have the project checked, the offline ready box checked, but in some other user, they might not yet did that. So make sure that they all check the offline ready checkbox, and when everything here is ready, then you're ready to go offline, ready to go to the field. Okay. And next step is data collection, but maybe we can go for a bit of Q&A session. Over to you.
Yeah. So we were going to pause for Q&A here, but nobody has asked any questions yet because I guess Tila has done such a great job of explaining everything. So that's awesome, but do not hesitate to ask questions. And if anybody is trying to follow along, I can try to help offline, but again, we can't get into too much detail there. So yeah, I think just to put a point on everything that Tila has shown thus far, if you have used MERMAID version 1, this should look fairly familiar. The broad kind of workflows that everybody needs to do is kind of the same, and the things that are new for version 2 are you may or may not notice, but there tend to be little improvements here and there in terms of what you can and cannot do and how things look and what the user experience is. So if you have used version 1, this should look familiar so far. If you haven't, I'll just kind of underline what Tila already said, which is everything in this phase about preparation is about getting the kind of the metadata, getting everything set up so that you can collect data offline, and that's one of the main kind of selling points of Mermaid is that, like Excel, you can use this offline. You can close your laptop, you can turn it off, you can close your browser, and you can still use it offline. But you have to make sure that you go through these steps that Tila said first. Yeah, no questions. So I don't know. I think we should just continue on. But yeah, everybody, don't hesitate to ask questions.
Okay, so we go to data collection. Okay, so data collection, again, we can do it online and offline. And then the app will automatically detect it when you're offline. So here what we're going to do. So in the data collection in MERMAID, we use the term sample unit to refer to a recorded data in a transect. So I will be using this term throughout the webinar. The data collection step is, first of all, you have to create the sample unit and then save it and then validate it and submit it. Creating a sample unit and saving it can be done both online and offline, but validating it and submitting it will only be available online. So once you're in the field and with no internet connection, you can only save it. And then when you have a stable internet connection, you can go online and validate and submit your sample units. So now we're going to try to add a sample unit. Let's go to the project page again. And again, we're going to use the new feature of MERMAID, which is going to select, oh, okay. Before I'm going to go offline. Sorry, so you need to go offline first if you want, especially if you have a slow internet connection. So I'm gonna make myself offline by toggling this button here. Can you see? Hope you can see my mouse here. So when you toggle it, then you're offline. This will make the app to detect you as offline all the time, because sometimes, in my own experience, sometimes it will create a problem when you have only, like, if you're in the middle of the ocean and then sometimes you have internet connection because you're close to an island, and then there's wind blowing towards your place, and there's internet connection, and then for 5 seconds, then suddenly it disappeared and you're offline again. If that happens, MERMAID will, when MERMAID detects an internet connection, it will automatically push your data to the server. And when the 5 seconds ended and MERMAID is still syncing the data, then sometimes that causes a problem. And we don't want that to happen. So it's better to keep it offline until you are sure that you have a stable internet connection, and then you go online and do the rest of the thing. Okay, so here, when you go offline, this is how it looks like. So apparently I only have one project of offline ready. So you can only see one project here. And then you may notice that these options, submitted, sites, and user onlys and data sharing, will be grayed out, and you're not able to click it. You're not able to copy, and you are not able to click the offline ready anymore. So we only can select the collecting. So this is what we're going to use to add a sample unit. And also you can see here that there's nothing except collecting, sites, and management regime. I'm going to go online for a bit so you can have a comparison of what it looks like when you're online. So where you're online, you can see lots of options here. Use your data sharing project, overview page, and everything. But when you go on offline, you will only have 3 options: collecting, sites, and management regime page. Again, this is because sites and management regimes you can add them offline as well. So we're going to focus on collecting for now. And adding a sample unit is very easy. and very, very straightforward. So all you need to do is click this add sample unit, and then you click on the method here, which are the method that you use. And then for the first example, I will use the Penticati. So I will click it here. And you will be directed to the form here. So remember, you already added your sites and management regimes previously. So here, when you want to fill out the sample event, you just need to click this button and click whatever site that you're going to use and management regime. So if the bracket here is if you have a secondary name for your site, and it will appear inside the bracket, but the main name will be on the very left outside the bracket. So I'll use control here. And then sample date, I'll use today. And then transact number, I will use transact number 1. Fill out sample unit. If you have label for it, you can also add label. And the depth will be 5 meter. Transect length survey, I'll also put 5 meters. The transect length survey is the length of one transect that you're using to collect your data. And then interval size, because it's a PID, so I will use an interval size of 50 centimeter. But because MERMAID requests a meter, so I will add 0.5 here. And interval start is the start when you collect your data. So someone might start at 0 and someone might start from 50 centimeter because the interval is 50 centimeter. And then for me, I will start in 50 centimeter as well. So I will put 0.5 here because MERMAID asked in meters. And I will fill up this information here. So reef slope, a slope, visibility, more than 10 centimeter, 10 meters, sorry. And the current is low, relative depth is shallow, and tide is low. And if you want to have notes here, you can also add it. And then the next thing is adding observer. So you can add more than one observer for this. I will add myself. And all your observation will be added here on the very end of the form. Before we add, I want to show this here. So you might be familiar for people that has been collecting coral reef data. So you might be familiar with this. There's a slightly different way to add this information, this abbreviation here to what MERMAID detected. So for example, I'll close this. So for example, we want to add coral branching, so CV. So you won't be able to click CV here because it won't appear anything here. So what you need to do is you type hard coral. You can type minimum 3 character, and then these options appear here. So you can also mix it with the first name and the second name together, and MERMAID will show you the options that are available. So hard coral, you can also not use the mouse. This is the thing that I like the most when using MERMAID, is I don't need to use the mouse. So after I type, I just hit the down button to select, and then hit the tab button to select it. And then that will automatically select your option and then go to the next field. And here in the growth form, you type branching, and then it will appear. Or if you want to know the options, you can click on this little arrow here, and you can choose which are the right growth form for it. So for example, branching. And the next amazing thing that MERMAID can do to speed up your data entry is that if you have the same the same benthic attribute in another point, you can hit the tab button. If you hit the tab button, the previous data will be copied to your next row. So I will try to hit the tab button right now. And ta-da! So hard coral cover appeared. Also the hard coral cover branching appeared, copied to the next row. And if you, for example, want to add another blank row, all you need to do is go to the end of the row by clicking the tab, hitting the tab button, and then you click enter. And then a blank row will appear. So this is very useful. For example, if you have mostly sand or rubble that usually has a very long point, so you don't have to type it all over again. For example, this until maybe 3 meter, all I need to do is just hitting the tab until 3 meters and everything is ready. And also, MERMAID has counted it for you, the total percent cover for that particular translate. So when you're happy with it, just click save button. So that's what we're doing. Okay, so the next example that I want to show you is adding the benthic photo quadrat. So I'm not going to, okay, so you're going to need to do this again and add sample unit and click the benthic photo quadrat. And when you do this, this is what will appear on your computer. I already filled up the first the metadata information, sample event, translate numbers. So we're going to go, oh, sorry. And this one, the different information that needs to be filled in the photo quadrat is the quadrat number start, quadrat size, and quadrat number of quadrats, and number of point per quadrat. And then after you fill these, everything is the same: visibility, current, relative depth, and tide, notes of observers. And then we go to the end of the page, and this is where we enter the observation. But as you know that we're working together with what's a cloud? Coral, sorry.
CoralNet and Reef Cloud are.
Yeah, CoralNet and Reef Cloud. Sorry about that. CoralNet and Reef Cloud. So you do your photo identification through there or other softwares, and then you store your identification results in MERMAID. So for example, here I have prepared, it might be different from what you usually have, but for example, you have this a result from your photo identification, and then you need to create a pivot table and have this information ready. And then after that, you can add these information into the MERMAID sample unit. Again, click on the add row here, and what the number of the quadrat number 1, for example, and benthic attribute is the same thing. If you have, if you know the species name, you can also type it out. So if you type, for example, Acropora, and then you can see here you have different species available in MERMAID. So you can either click this, or you don't know what species, just click Acropora. And if you don't have the growth form information, you can also leave it blank, and number of points too, for example. And again, MERMAID will automatically calculate the percentage of each hard coral and other information that you add here under. And once you're happy with it, then again, you can click the save button. Okay, and the last example that I want to show you is adding a fishbelt translate. Also already have it half prepared. So I will leave this like this. Okay, so we're going to fill every information as like before. The different thing is that in fish belt, you have the width, and mermaid have these options. So 2, 5, 10, and 20. Or if you're doing a mix, like one person collecting both fish, big fish and small size fish, and they want to enter it in one transect. And so we have this available in 2 options. This one is saying that mermaid will automatically assign 2-meter width for fish that has size less than 10 centimeter, and will automatically assign 5-meter width when the fish size is equal to or bigger than 10 centimeter. And this one is if the fish has a size between 10 and 35 centimeter, then it will be assigned to 5-meter width. And if it's 35 or bigger than 35, then it will be assigned 20-meter to it. So I will choose this one. And also the next one is fish size bins. So if you're not using bins, you can choose one. But if you have bins 5, 10, or you're using Agra or WTS, we have customized WTS India here, you can click one of these. So I'm going to click one for this. And then the other information is the same: reef, slope, visibility, current, relative depth, tide, and nodes, and observers. And now the best part is adding the observations. I have the data example sheet ready. So this is what it looks like to have your data in the Excel sheet. Imagine I was going to give you a picture of a field data sheet, but then I cannot even read what is written there. So I'm not going to make you uncomfortable looking at that. So I created an Excel sheet instead. Okay, so I'm gonna do this. Let's make it side by side so it's easier. Okay. Okay. Now we want to add the fish name, the observation. So we click the add row here. And this is also the best feature that I really like when adding fish observation, is that you don't really need to type the whole fish species name. And after you enter the data here, then you will be able to receive it in a clean, without typo. And also it has it's filtered out for you based on the size. So the fish name, fish species name, and also the size. So for example, if you mistype the size of fish species and it's larger than the maximum recorded ones, then Mermaid will detect it for you and will have an error or warning in there for you for you to address. So let's start. For example, let's add this Parupinius. Let's zoom in a bit. Okay. So Parupinius multifasciatus. So people that is a fish expert here might already notice that it's a typing thing. So I will just type paru and multi, and then I will have this option ready. So again, you can use the same function, which is typing minimum 3 characters, either the genus name or the species name together with or without spaces, and it will detect the available option close to the character that you type. So I will select this again, Parapenus multifasciatus, and then I put the size 15 and 5. And then the same rule apply. If you hit tab, it will copy the previous row, and if you hit enter, it will create a new blank row for you. So I'm going to click enter here, and then I will type another one, Acanthurus varian. Oops. Acanthurus varian. So it basically won't let you mistype fish species. Okay, so Plataxtera. And also you can, if you can't find your fish species from the Mermaid database, you can always um, propose new fish species, for example, here. But please do this after you are sure that it's a new species that is not available in Mermaid. What we suggest you to do is try to check it to the WORM's website to make sure that you're using the accepted fish species name. Okay, and once everything is done, then we can save it here. I'm going to focus on our app. Okay, now it's saved, and then we can go to the collecting page again. Okay, now we're going to go online because we're going to validate and submit a transect. So we're going to hit toggle this button here, go online, and then I will only do this for the fish belts because everything will be the same. The step will be the same in either method. So you need to do validation and then you can submit. So if you notice when you're offline, the validate and submit button disappeared and you can only save it. But now when you're online, you can click validate. The validation and submit button is available. So let's try validate this. And here we have warnings and errors with beautiful information here. What's the warning, the errors as well. And also there's this information here to let you know why you cannot submit, because if you have not addressed the warnings and errors, the submit button will be grayed out and you're not able to click it. We can remove that as well. Also, if warning, to address the warning, you can scroll to observation, but if you're sure that it's the correct thing, so you can click the ignore warning. And errors as well, but error you cannot scroll to observation, but you need to scroll down manually. The new feature in version 2 here is that the warning and errors information here appeared next to the issues. So for example, here we have an error in the management, which I haven't choose yet. So I'm gonna deal with this. And then if I want to go to fish biomass less than 50 kilogram, so I will scroll to observations. And then here's another information. What is wrong is that the fish size is larger than the maximum observed size. So as I mentioned earlier, that Mermaid also ensure that clean your data also based on the maximum size for each fish species. And it's all based, all the information here we have from fish base. So I'm gonna remove the 0 here and keep it 37. And see there's this little information here showing that there's still warning or error that needs to be addressed. So we're going to scroll up and see, okay, so we have an error here. We have not have the mix. We haven't set the width yet. And fish size bin. And there's a warning here, transect is less than 10 and is outside 10 and 100. So I'm going to ignore the warning. Also fewer than 5 observation for fish species. I want to ignore it because my site is I only find less fish here. So I'm sure that it's less than 5 for now. So I'm going to ignore the warning. And then after you deal with the issues, you need to save it. And then you click the validate again. And you do this every time you see a warning and error, and until you address everything, then the submit button is open for you to click. I'm gonna submit this data. And and then you're done. You're finished collecting, you're done submitting, and you done validating as well. And also, as I mentioned earlier, the Mermaid version 2 also can help you to find out who to chase for missing data. This is important if you're working in a team. How we do this is that you go to the overview page, which is over here. So there are two overview pages. One is observers and transacts, and then there's management regime overview. So the observers and transacts page will show the summary of submitted and unsubmitted sample unit per observer, per method, per site. So you can see that there, and if you hover to it, for example, fish belt, you hover to this number here, there's this beautiful information, who last edited, who's the observer collecting the data, the site name, the management regimes, and also the dates when it's collected. So it's not a date when you modify it, but it's a date when you collect the sample unit. And also, if it's submitted, you can view the submitted sample unit by clicking here, and then it will go directly to that sample unit. And also, you can see here, I have still 2 transact sample unit that I have not submitted. So here, as an admin, you can chase me and saying that, Tila, you have not submitted 2 transacts, so please finish it and submit it. So this is the awesome new feature that is very helpful. And the next one is management regimes overview. Here you can find the management regime only for submitted sample units. So you might notice, or you might remember that we add more than 1 management regimes here. We have control, and then I added 2 more, no take zones and use zones. But it will not appear here until you use it in a sample unit and you submit that sample unit. When that happens, then other management regimes will appear here. So for now, because I only use the control management regime, so this one, that is why it only appeared for control. Okay. So now we have everything. We have submitted data, and the next thing I want to show you is, wait, why is this still here?
So the next thing we're going to do is have a little QA after the collecting, the validating, and the submitting. We're running a bit short on time, so I just want to take note of that. I think it's all good. There's still no questions because Teal is still doing an excellent job. But just wanted to invite anybody who has any questions or discussion to enter it into the chat. I think so Teal is going to show you downloading data, and then going to move into a little bit of R, which should be really exciting. So I hope and if we need to go long, we can maybe do that. But just to note, that's what's happening. So we've got 20 minutes, and we can stay longer for Q&A too.
And we'll be recording this as well. So if anyone needs to jump on the hour but wants to come in to see your favorite R plotted up with Mermaid data, you will be sending out the recording, and you can scroll to the end and see that. So thanks, everyone. Over to you, Tila.
Okay, awesome. So again, next step, I'm going to show you how to download the data from Mermaid. The step is you go to the submitted page, then you choose the method, and then it will Mermaid will download it for you, and then you can directly open it in Excel because it's an Excel format. So let's go to the app. So we go to the submitted page here. And then here are our our submitted sample units. And to download it, you click this button here, export to XLSX, and then you click the method, because I only have fish belt, so I will click the fish belt method. And then automatically Mermaid will download the sample units, and you will be able to find it in a zip file. You just need to unzip it. And here is the file is available in your computer. Okay, so when you download your data, you will have three sheets here. So the first sheet is an observation level. So if you remember, when you go to sample units and then you enter the fish species name, and all of that will appear here. So basically, it's like your raw data. And then the next one is the belt fish unit, best belt fish sample unit. So SU is sample units. This is the total, because this is fish belt, so the total fish biomass for that sample unit. So in other words, is the total biomass for one transect in one transect per site, because I only have one transect here. I only have one row, but if I have three sample units, meaning three transects, so then I will have 3 rows for 1206, and I will have 3 rows as well for site 1208, and this will have all the metadata as well. And the next sheet is the belt fish sample event. So this is SE, it stands for sample event, and this is the average of the sample unit per site. So in other words, if you have 3 transects for one site, then the biomass will, and then Mermaid will average the biomass for you per that site. So you will have only 1 row for each site. Okay, so if you have a question, don't forget to write it in the chat. Okay, that's downloading your data, and that's it. It's really straightforward. If you still don't have any question, I will continue to the next.
Yeah, so the next step is the exciting analysis part. There was one question about transferring unsubmitted transects between users. And yes, the answer is yes, you can transfer unsubmitted transects between users in the project. That was on the users page under the project admin section that Tila showed you. And there's a little transfer button by each user. Yep, that's the one. And yeah, so it's the same logic as it was in version 1. So yeah, that exists.
But
oh, and yep, sorry.
Can use it. Only admin can transfer.
Only project admins can do that. Yep, yep. And we have one more question. Excellent. Is there any way to edit data that has been submitted? So here again, yes, if you are a project administrator, and only if, you can go to the submitted page, as Tila will show you here, go to that transect or that submitted sample unit that is needs to be edited, and then you can move it back into collecting. So I think Tila probably shouldn't do this right now, but she could click that button. But the key, everything in Mermaid always has to be validated. So if Tila clicked that button, it would then move back into collecting. It would be then up to you to either do the edits and go through validation and submission again, or transfer it to another project member to assign them to do it if they need to fix something.
And again, only the admin of that project can can move a submitted sample unit to the collector.
Mhm. And then just catching the second part, that's a great question, Samuel. Is there a way to know if certain data have been edited or changed? I don't believe so. I don't think we're tracking that. Is that right, Kim?
Not, it's not, no, not fully. And I would be interested to hear how you would want to use that, because we do have, we are tracking changes, some changes, but not all changes, and so it would be interesting to know, please follow up with me offline, how we could add that for your uses.
But we also have this in the observer and transect, which might answer or might not answer your question, is that if you hover this to this submitted transect, then there's this information of last edited by.
Mm.
So if it's not you, it might be other name here.
Mm.
Right, Kim?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
But you won't, but I think there's you won't know what is edited inside the transect, but you only know who last edit the transect.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. But that's something we could do if it was really useful to people. All right, let's do some art. We got 10 minutes, but I think, right? Is there any other questions? Should we discuss anything else, or I want to see the chart.
Who doesn't want to see a great chart in R?
Okay, maybe everyone is excited to look at the script. Okay, so if there's no more question, then we can go to the next slide, is that we're going to do data analysis. So to do data analysis, you can do it directly from MERMAID using the MERMAID R package. MERMAID R is an R package specifically for working with MERMAID data and enables you to access your data from MERMAID, compile data sets from multiple MERMAID projects, and also ingest legacy data into MERMAID. So let's head up straight to the R Studio. I'm still here. Okay, so I've prepared this, the code for those that has experience using R Studio. This is very easy for you, and it's really straightforward, and you can easily understand the script. But for those that have not been using R Studio, don't worry, bear with me. And then if you have question, we can do it in the Q&A session, or if you want, you can contact us directly, and then we can have another session to explain more. Okay, so let's start. So as usual, we set the working directory first. And then this is the code to install the MERMAID R package if you have not have it already. And then of course we have to activate the libraries, and these are the libraries that I'm going to use in this script. So I'm going to run this. And then the first step is that you want to authenticate yourself. So this is the important step. So you use the MERMAID get my project. This is to get your information, the metadata of your information. The metadata of your projects that you are participated in. And at the same time, it's going to authenticate yourself. So I'm going to hit this, and oh, I already did. So if you're not yet authenticated, what will happen is that you will be headed automatically to the browser, and then there will be this MERMAID authentication page, and then you need to hit the authenticate button, and then after that you can close the browser again and then head to the R Studio again. So if you already authenticate, and then you can see your project available here. So these are my projects here. And oh, sorry. And also with all the information, like the name of the project, the countries, name, number of sites, tags. If you have tags, is the organizations. Notes if you have, status, data policy of Beltfish Benthic, PIT, created on, updated on. So these are the information that you will get. And then the next step is I want to filter because I want to analyze only data from the Mermaid Reef Survey project. So we need to filter that project by using the filter function. And we put here the name of the project that we want. And then we'll assign it to Mermaid. So here, if you click on it, and then you will see that here we have already filtered only the Mermaid Reef Survey. And if you want to add more, another project, if you have different kind of project and you want to analyze it for the whole country, for example, then you can add it here. Okay, and the next step is that you choose the data that you want to pull. In this example, I will analyze the fish belt transect. So here, what I need to do is that I'm going to use the Mermaid get project data here. This is the function. And then I have to mention what the method that I want to pull. So the fish belt method and what level of the data. And here I want to pull the observation level of the data. So basically your raw data will be pulled. So I'm going to run this. We'll wait for a little while. Okay, so here it is. So I have, we open it. Here are the information. So I have 8 observations here. And I have 2 different sites here. So everything is working good so far. And then what I want to do is I want to analyze the biomass per site. So I want the average of the sites. I want to average the fish biomass per site. And I want to calculate the standard error here. So I'm going to run this. And then I want to add the column year. And this is how it will look like. So I have the table perfectly ready with site average and standard error for each site. And then the next is I want to create a simple figure, a bar plot with these sites. So I will run this, and here it is. This is the box plot. So I have 2 sites. I have my standard error here, biomass and site ID. So it's really simple. That's the simple example that I'm going to show you for today. And this just to show you that you don't need to download your data from Mermaid to actually analyze it, because we have the Mermaid R package, so you can do it directly. But if you want to have backup in your computer, that's also fine. So next we will talk about ingesting your legacy data. So do we have any question up until now?
Yep, and just looking at time too, we have just a few minutes, so probably ingestion is something that will take us over the hour. So if anybody needs to jump off, don't hesitate to do so. And I think we'll just kind of quickly summarize ingestion. That's a whole other big topic, which we could have a whole other session on, and we can do that if people are interested. But yeah, I think that's so. I guess before we get into that, yeah, is there any other Q&A we should do? I don't see anything in the chat. Any discussion, any feedback, cries for help? We'll post the code examples that Tila is showing today. So that's something that can with just a few, modifications for your own needs, that, you could very quickly create live box plots yourself. Nobody.
I'll add too that one of our sort of short-term goals is to have a place online where different code snippets that are being used by Mermaid users are available to see as a starting place for people using R. That could be, bringing other data sets in or combining it or making beautiful plots with your Mermaid data. But we see that as a really important way of showing people how not just to collect your Mermaid data, but how you can use your Mermaid data really easily. So stay tuned for some examples of those kinds of R code snippets.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, I guess Tila might as well go into do a little bit of ingestion. I think we should just, kind of summarize for folks who are interested.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay. Now we're going to talk about ingesting legacy data. So as we have been mentioning that you can ingest your data, your existing data to Mermaid with the Mermaid R package, and the steps is here. So before you ingest your data, so you need to prepare the project. Just as I mentioned before, that we did all the preparation things, creating a project, add sites, add management regimes, add users, set data sharing permissions. All of that stuff in the preparation needs to be done before you ingest your data. Because this is important because there's this step of validating through the Mermaid R package before you are allowed to import the data to Mermaid. And then the next step is after you prepare the project, and then you need to download the template, which will be, this template is actually, it's the same for everything, but it is tailored to your project. So for example, if you have the sites ready in the project, then only that site that you already prepared in the project will appear there. So that's the guide of what are the available options for sites. So make sure before you start ingesting, that all of the sites that you have been using for your previous data are already in Mermaid app. Okay. And the next step after you download the template, then you adjust the data format based on that template. So your data format matches the Mermaid template to be allowed to import, because that's the only format that Mermaid accepts. And then after that, you address the errors and warnings in RStudio. And then when you address everything, then you are allowed to import the data to Mermaid. And when you import the data to Mermaid, all of your sample units, so one transect will be one sample unit in Mermaid, and then all of that will appear in the collecting page. And as you know, if it's in the collecting page, you need to submit the sample units. And to do that, you need to go to each of the sample units and validate each one and submit each one. So this is why ingesting isn't necessarily easier, and you still have to validate each sample unit. So we strongly suggest using the web app directly for new projects and ingesting your data only for existing projects. Okay, so do we want to go to the script, or do we not have time to do that?
I'm kind of thinking, I mean, it's a whole other big topic. I kind of think maybe we should leave it at that, and then just invite folks, if you're interested, please let us know, and we can arrange a webinar to specifically look at ingestion. But I think the main point is kind of what Tila said here, which is you can do it. It's we make it as easy as possible, but you still have to validate. It still has to be clean data. So don't think that it's just a easy way to get your data in. So it's really just meant for old legacy data. Yeah. So I think we should probably just leave it at that. And folks are dropping off. So maybe we can just go to the last slide and
Thank you.
say thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for staying throughout the demo. Thank you for your questions and all your interest and also your time, and especially people that are from my continent. I'm in Indonesia, by the way. So people from my continent now is very late. So wow.
Yes, thank you for staying up.
And
we'll send up a follow-up email. Sorry, just to say, we'll send these links that you see on the slide as well as the example scripts and whatnot.
And we're so delighted to have Tila on board. We now have the whole world's time zones covered, as Tila mentioned, and we also offer Q&A in Bahasa. And luckily that's not from me, that's from Tila. So you're in good hands. So welcome, Tila, and thank you everybody for joining and for a wonderful webinar.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you everybody. Bye-bye.
Terima kasih. Selamat malam, Tila.
Selamat malam.
Selamat pagi, Emily and Kim. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.